Wow.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we humbly call on you to bless this council and all who are engaged in the work of local government. Grant that we may order all things in wisdom, righteousness, and peace to the honor of your name and the good of the people of our city. Amen.
Amen.
Good afternoon, councillors, town clerk, management, members of the Fourth Estate. Our remarks on the Deputy Mayor as I came in looking very colourful, and I see that you are all resplendent in your cultural attire, so I'm floor-paid to you all, and I hope that we have a very festive remainder of our Culture Week. It is a wonderful week in our calendar in which we rejoice in the rich history of our city. I see that some of us are not wearing cultural attire, and I hope that you are not called upon in the course of this meeting, but we'll try and live it out in a positive frame of mind. As you are aware, I was away for the last meeting, but I'm very pleased about some of the things that have happened in my absence. As many of you know, I'm often very critical of government, but I'm always very willing to give credit where credit is due. And I want to do that today. As you know, one of my own primary focuses has been on the construction of Glassblock Dam, and I'm not going to bore you with the reasons for that. You've heard me speak on this on many occasions. But suffice it to say today that several weeks ago, in fact a couple of months ago, I wrote to the Honourable Minister for Local Government, Honourable Daniel Garwood, asking for his intervention to assist us get the necessary authorities for the construction of Glassblock Dam. And I want to give credit to the Honourable Minister and to thank him publicly for the manner in which he responded to that appeal. He responded urgently and vigorously, and it culminated in the meeting that the Deputy Mayor attended, the Town Clerk attended a few weeks ago, which was convened by the African Development Bank. And that meeting was vigorously chaired by Mrs. Nube on behalf of the Minister, and I'm very pleased to confirm the news that many of you already know, that as the result of that meeting and that intervention by the Honourable Minister, we now have a draft water purchase offtake agreement. It is only in draft, but it constitutes a significant step forward in this long road that we have to travel to get this dam constructed. And it marks agreement between, in principle, between the City Council and the consortium. It has the backing of the African Development Bank that played a very constructive role in that meeting, and has now been submitted to government for approval. And so we now await with eager anticipation for government to come back to us on that. And I trust that government approval will be given for that agreement. That, of course, only marks one significant step along the way towards actually getting this dam construction underway. Given the length of time that has elapsed between when the town clerk and I and engineer Nube went to the African Investment Forum in Morocco in December 2024, and now it is a period of some 16 months. Many of the pledges or tokens of support that were indicated by international banks may not still hold today once we have this agreement. And we still have to overcome that hurdle to ensure that we get the international finance necessary for the construction of this dam. But it is in that context that I want to just tell you briefly that, as you are aware, I was in the United Kingdom, and I had two very constructive meetings with institutions involved in international finance. And the deeply encouraging word that I got from one of those meetings in particular is that the African Development Bank as an institution believes in this project, is 100% behind this project, and that is very significant if we are to attract the international capital that we need to construct this dam. So overall, I want to congratulate the town clerk and the deputy mayor and members of management who participated in that process with the African Development Bank. I want to congratulate them all on this progress in achieving this new draft agreement, and we look forward to further reports coming from government and hopefully approval for that. And with those words, let us get on with our meeting. Town clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. City fathers and mothers, councillors of the city of Bulawayo, city management, and our fourth estate. The legal question being confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 6th of May 2026, attached herein was Annexure A, pages A to R. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Do we have a mover for those minutes and a seconder?
Sign, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. A seconder? Thank you. I will sign the minutes accordingly. Turning to item 2, would the Chair of Health Housing please move her report?
Your Worship, I move that the report of the Health and Education Committee held on the 12th of May 2026 is submitted, be received, and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Do you have a seconder for that? Thank you. Right, the best. What items? Item 4. Anyone item 4? Item 2. Anyone item 2? So we have the. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mine is item 2 under Health Inspectorate. I'm concerned that as a city, we are now having so many counterfeits on food items. People are now suffering from cancerous diseases and health because of these imitations. But the department is doing a good job in making sure that these people are arrested. I think that there are 66 who are arrested for those imitations. But tied to that, my contribution is, as a city, I think why this vacuum of imitations is that let's try to assist the government in coming up with the special economic zones. Special economic zones will assist it to make sure that our GDP rises as a city. There are no jobs in this city because I think most of the industries have closed. But now the government that is now coming up with special economic zones, I think it's a chance for us as a city to partner it in making sure that we implement this noble idea. I see the CETA report that is before me here. Bulawayo had only 3 licenses that were issued under the CETA report of a total value of 3.9 million. While the provinces like Matebele and South, the 10 licenses issued with a value of 116 million. Mashonaland and East with a value of 28 million 53.53. and Harare 708 million, almost close to 1 billion. But as a city, we are only situated at 3 million. So when the government is trying this noble idea, I think let's come on board. Already we have got a special economic zone site at Imvimila. We are supposed to be on the forefront as a city, as the policymakers, because we are the government in this province. So when we are on the forefront, it means that you'll be able to identify and partner with the government and make sure that maybe you are not only supporting what is there, but also give guidance and policy direction, because you are with the people, with the citizens. We know what needs to be done in Bulawayo. Let's take this proactive role and write on this model that government is bringing. The government is trying its best, but we can only do better when we are doing it together with them. That's my contribution.
Thank you. 7. Anyone before 7? You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Worship. I rise to address on the item health promotion, which National AIDS Council flagged Old Makwekwe and Old Pumula as HIV high spots. This is very worrisome, Your Worship. As Bulawayo, we are facing drug and substance abuse. Now we are also have to fight the HIV infection. I'd like to ask the department and the committee, what is the status quo on our clinics regarding this issue? Thank you.
Right, 2 hands. What item, sir?
Item 14.
14? 12? 16. Okay, so, Councillor, for item 12. 12. You've got the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Before I would allow me to say congratulations to the people of Bulawayo. This week we are celebrating our culture, our youth, and we are proud of it. I wanted to contribute on item 12, which speaks on the issue of land. I must tell you, Your Worship, our population is growing very fast, and we are aware of what is happening even in our neighboring countries, specifically in South Africa. Our people are being chased away there because of other legal issues. As the city of Bulawayo, I was worried when I was reading the statistics on the land that we are allocating to our people, specifically the residential states, vis-a-vis the demand that is on the ground and the waiting list that is there. But what is most worrisome is even the people that registered their waiting list, I think as early as 2000, and they've been paying with due diligence their monthly rates. But up to now, they haven't been given at least a residential state. It's so worrisome, and in my view, we wouldn't want to turn the city of Bulawayo to be like the city of Harare, whereas we will be trying to address the illegal settlement of people. Our wedding is okay. At the end of the day, they end up allocating themselves states. And those cases are rising here in Bulawayo. We wouldn't want to be engaged in process of demolishing the houses of people. So it is my plea to the Department of Housing, working hand in hand with the town plan, that if there is a space available, I don't see any reason why we are not making the residential space available to the people of Bulawayo and those who are in a diaspora, so that they can find a home here in Bulawayo. Because if we fail to avail that land, we are going to face challenges that we are not going even to be able to address as a city. So I was worried with the states vis-a-vis the waiting list that is there. I don't know what plans and mechanisms that are in the department to address that fundamental problem, especially this year, to ensure that at least we avail the land to our people of Bulawayo. Thank you so much.
Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Also congratulate Bulawayo for attaining 180 years. Item 14 is also.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand. You have that one. I beg your pardon. Another 12. Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and congratulations to Bulawayo. I'm happy to say so because the numbers that celebrate visibly on the back of Bulawayo is not what should be in terms of achieving this milestone, which in itself is our identity. Because not become incompetent in English, but the issue of lead, even abazali bethu yiyo abayihambele empini ngo-item 12 ephuma indaba yomhlaba okhulu bethu labokhokho bethu yibo abayihambele empini. Our great leader uJoshua Nkomo was a big proponent of land because he understood ukuthi apart from plowing and tilling land to make money, isitho sakhe esidumileyo sokuthi mina ngifuna ukuthatha lokhu ngikubise ezindlini zokuhlala. Umhlaba Nkosi yiyo into enikeza umuntu omnyama i-dignity. Umhlaba yiwo owenza ukuthi umuntu azizwe engumuntu. Nxa abantu bengela ndawo yokwakha imizi yabo ngabala sithunzi, lamabizo ababizwa ngawo nxa bengela ndawo zokuhlala phakathi kwedolobho amabizo ayangisayo, libizwa ngazo zonke inhlobo zamagama angahloniphekiyo. Njalo ama-challenges akhona ku-City Council in terms of servicing ama-stands ukuthi abantu baphiwe siyawazi sonke. Although ngile challenge yokuthi umhlaba esilawo umnengi kakhulu Nkosi ukuthi omunye singawuthengisa in exchange for capital equipment, so that we can then be able to service stands on our own and give residents decent, low-cost housing. Bruce speaks to a very pertinent thing about the wars we see in our neighbor countries, which are forced people to come back home. And these people have no shelter. Most of the people that are in the homes straight to South Africa to seek better lives. And when they come, having tasted city life in South Africa, they would want to be here with no accommodation. I want this to be put on the top agenda of the City Council. TC, as you sit here as the CEO of this city, let's make it a priority that we look for capital equipment, yellow machines, of our own and service these states and give it to people. Umhlaba uyiyo yonke into empilweni yomuntu. And anything ngifuna linanzelele ngomhlaba owenza i-dynamism okubisa inguquko even kuma-cultures ethu. Yikhona lokhu ukuthi abanye abantu abavela kwezinye izindawo ye-worship abalemali zabo abakwanisa lapha bazethenga umhlaba enmass. Bangathenga umhlaba enmass ngoba kuma-developers udeveloper ufuna imali ngala ndaba lokuthi umuntu uvela kahle. But okokuqala okumoshayo kudilute culture yethu. Kwenza even ubunyefu bona lokho kwenzakala edolobheni lapho okunyela emgwaqweni yi-culture esingayaziyo. Among other things, those are the drivers. of that culture. So there is a careful snowballing negative impact which correlates between ukusela izitendi ngabantu bakithi and ubunyefu lobo benzakala koBulawayo. So it is not only an issue of ukusela izitendi, but again, if you check our local authorities wonke worship, how many people from Bulawayo are able to go and buy land or get stands eKwekwe, Mtali, eMaswingo, eGwanda, Ngapinga? But look at the statistics here in Bulawayo from abantu abavela kwamanye provinces against abalapha. Ililo lentwala ukuthi batholi iland yokuthi abantu bakhe. But one of the reasons, that is the most painful reasons, ukuthi abantu aba in charge of this seat yithi there is you worship as the mayor who's fluent in Ndebele, there is uDume umthembu wenkayi kulogatsheni owatopho. Aba-directors bonke lawa kunovela kwelindawo, kulabo Ngangezi, kulabo Siziba, kulabo Sibanda, kulabo Ncube. But we are perpetuating a system that does not favor us. Before you know it, abantu abethu bonke lapha ababe ngamaloja kokuLawa. This is the Bulawayo want. How does it assist us in perpetuating culture njengabantu bakoBulawayo? How does it assist us? Because as izinto zonalezi ngezinye futhi izinto ezikhoza the imbalance in culture bese kuthiwa thina si-tribal xa sesikhuluma iqiniso. We are not tribal. Sikhuluma iqiniso ye-worship. I cannot go ngisho abantu benzakho lapha koBulawayo. And khona even singakukhulumanga yikho futhi okwenza sizondane nsitha ngkuhle sikhangelane ngamehlo ngaphansi kwamabhashi, because liyabe sembigina to ask ukuthi kanti ngithole njani indaba mina ngiyiswela. Mina no-aunt wami, she's 68, she's 78 years old this year. Uleft woman ile 32 years. Lezimvuthu yoworship, lezimvuthu uyalibhadalela. She has the money to buy the state. But because of course asila ama-capital equipments like in Chilo, kasila lokunye. But lokunye futhi ngendlela nathi esisebenza ngayo. Ake sibe le system that give priority to abantu abathatha kudala amafomu who are able to think, to pay. Sinikele abantu umhlaba, abantu bonke babe happy. When there is fairness, abantu babe bejabulile. I'm telling you some of these things esizikhuluma ezabantu ungazwani. Zivele ezintweni zona lezi esinjengakhona ukuthi uba nisethole lokhu uba ningatholanga, uba nisethole lokhu uthole njani. Umkhule wami worship ukuthi as we leave this house, singabuyi lapha size kuba ngamachumayeli. We speak and act on the ills affecting abantu bakoBulawayo. And when I say abantu bakoBulawayo, I mean everyone who's resident here, whether it's a Manika, whether it's a Zulu, whether it's a Kalana. We have so many people who have stayed here. Abangatholiwa amathuba wona lawo ahead of abantu umuntu yabevele engakazaqalela koBulawayo khona abuye sezethenga istate. How is it? How fair is that? Employees abantu. Ngicela ke sikukhangele worship. And if we want ukuthi siphume sile record yenhle eCouncil, indaba yomhlaba yiyo into ehlupha kakhulu ukudlula zonke izinto. Ngicela sikulungise.
Item 12. Your Worship, the government is embarked on a tripartite program. This seeks to secure land tenure and modernize our registry. However, Your Worship, residents seem to not understand this process. As so, I'm proposing that we have a mini workshop for councillors in this August house, so that because residents ask councillors, I'm not sure if everyone. So it is my fair worship that we get a mini workshop in this August house regarding this issue.
Thank you once again, Your Worship. I want to speak to item 40, whereby I would like to start at the process. We had a few months ago, yesterday, and anti-violence and bullying campaign in our school, which was named not in my school campaign. And we saw this campaign happening across all our schools. I participated in those schools which are in my one. And it comes at the time when we are seeing a lot of cases of child violence and bullying in our schools. I think it is a good case, because it was started in primary schools and also secondary schools, chasing them young so that the messaging about anti-violence and abuses of, different kinds are taught at a young age so that they grow with it. So that's the first part. Now turning to the second part, looking at the education report, I saw that our schools are facing a serious challenge, Your Worship. And I noticed that you were once Minister of Education and you are quite conversant with the challenges in the education sector. I discovered that there is a challenge of non-payment of school fees. And what caught my attention is that government has not paid the due funds to schools for a long time. And the interaction which I had with some of the schools, which is also speaking to what the report has captured, it indicates that the last payment was done in 2022. Yes, you heard me right, 2022. That is terrible and unacceptable. We cannot have government become a bad status. We would rather have individuals who are facing challenges of unemployment, who are sick with hunger and poverty, fail to pay fees, but not government. So the public service and the social welfare ministry must make sure that they honor what they are supposed to do. We know what happens in our schools. The beam registers, if you look at them, in almost all the schools, they constitute about half of the enrollment, which means to say schools are going to fail to deliver education. Schools are going to fail to have operational efficiency that is expected of them. We know that schools must operate on a budget like any other institution. They've got projects, they need to buy teaching and learning materials, they need to repair buildings, repair school furniture. They've got income generating projects to run in our school. Even paying for the groundsmen, purchase of detergents, all the things that make the learning environment suitable so that the children who are coming up from these schools have a good environment through which they can then deliver good results. I think the non-payment of school fees is a serious challenge. And I'm not saying this in accusation of the committee. I know it is above their scope, it is above their purview, but it's an appeal to ministry to honor their obligation, because they have allowed schools to come up with being beneficiaries. But when it comes to the payment side, there is a serious challenge. So this is an appeal to not only Ministry of Public Service and Social Welfare, other line ministries, and most importantly, the Ministry of Finance, which must release these funds, because public service and social welfare is just an arm of distribution. So some of the children, because of failure to pay school fees, they are going to fail to perform. There will be school dropouts. And the idea of them knowing that they have not paid school fees is going to affect them mentally. And their performance is not going to be up to scratch. So the appeal here is to say, can we present a strongly worded appeal to the ministry so that they can fund our schools so that we catch up. Because 2022, I think that time late up to 2026 is just too much for a good learning environment. Thank you.
16. Deputy Mayor, you got the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship, for the opportunity. I want to commend the committee for finally recommending that the city of Bulawayo partners with the Highlanders Football Club, but I feel it was delayed. They should have presented this report maybe last year in November, December, so that by the start of the year 2026 worship, all the activities celebrating Highlanders, celebrating the city, were supposed to be done concurrently. We're supposed to do them together. But nevertheless, I applaud the committee for finally presenting this report, and I commend them for that. And I want them to maybe fasten up the processes and work with the Highlanders with these remaining months to make sure that Highlanders celebrate this 100 years, and also as a city celebrating this milestone where we are. Worship, I thank you.
Thank you. Assuming that there's no further debate, I want to just respond on two issues. The first is on housing, and I thank the councillors for focusing on that issue. My understanding, the last time I looked into this, is that we have a housing backlog list of 140,000. The town clerk is nodding his head, so I presume that is an accurate figure. That is 140,000 people who want to construct homes in our city. In the context of the fact that our population is just under 700,000, that is a horrifying figure. It's unacceptable. I want to inject into this debate a few issues. The first is something that we've discussed before, and that is the need to digitalize that housing waiting list. This is something which should be easily achievable. We have the IT experts, we have an outstanding GIS system that even people like the Dutch government would praise. We've got a lot of capacity within management to do this. And I think that we need to digitalize that waiting list as a matter of urgency and update it so that we know that we've got an accurate figure and we make it accessible to the public. We need transparency in this process. And that is not going to cost us any money. That is critical that be done. Then secondly, it seems to me, and we've raised and we've discussed this before, but we've made no progress in this regard. This city has the capacity to construct houses. We have businesses in the city that can take a house from foundational level to completion. We have brick manufacturers. We have granite chip manufacturers. The sand is produced here. We've got PPC that produces cement. We've got Triggers that produce door frames. Everything we need for the construction of houses is manufactured in this city. There is no excuse in terms of import licenses or anything like that. We have land that we have designated for housing, that we own as a city. And the time really has come for us to have the equivalent of more than a workshop, an indaba, of all interested players. The town clerk, management, ourselves, the managing directors of McDonald Brick, and I don't want to, give undue publicity to some, and the other brick manufacturers, to say, how do we tackle this issue together? Surely we have the capacity as a city to tackle this together. And then obviously we have to get the financing together, but we have city sons and daughters who are now in financial institutions and in very high positions in financial institutions. There must be the potential of a mortgage bond market out there. But it seems to me that we have not drawn all of this together. And so I commend the councillors who've raised this issue because it has highlighted it again for us. And Town Clerk, I think that this has to be convened. Not a workshop, I stress. We want to pull together all the brains. How can we work this issue together? So that we try to see whether we can do it ourselves without the need to reach out to central government or others. It's been done before, it must be able to be done again. Ma'am, could I respond to your specific issue regarding title deeds? It's a valid point. I've been in discussions with our legal department in that regard, and the legal department came back, I'm sure the town clerk is aware of this, to say it's difficult for the city itself institutionally to get involved in this issue because it's a national issue. Having said that, I hear what you say about councillors being put in a difficult predicament because you're being asked. And we need, I think that your suggestion has merit. If I could just seize on this opportunity very briefly, and this isn't designed to substitute the workshop, but in my capacity as a lawyer, we've been looking at this issue. And it's a valuable exercise to digitalize title deeds. But it is a mammoth task. Some of the lawyers in the city have tested the system, and the system is still in its infancy. Let me put it that way. So the general message that we can convey to the public, and we need to go into more detail for you, but the general message for now is that the public must not panic. There is going to be a lot of time left to get this organized. There are many teething problems that the deeds office is facing. They have not been resolved yet, but they will be resolved. And when that happens, I think there'll be a lot more education around that. I don't think that we should be holding the workshop immediately, because quite frankly, the system isn't clear even to lawyers at this stage. But I think once that becomes clear through the legal department, it would be very useful for us to have a workshop so that councillors are in a position to respond. Let me conclude my remarks regarding education. I just want to raise two issues. Councillor, you said, yes, pointing back to when I was Minister of Education. In 2013, when I was Minister of Education, we estimated that we had some 300,000 children out of school because of poverty. I'm reliably told by people within the ministry that countrywide there's over 1 million children affected by that situation now. And the non-payment of BEAM funds doesn't just affect the City Council. It is a countrywide phenomenon, and it's unacceptable. However, our responsibility is for our 26 schools. And Town Clerk, I hope that you will take on board what the councillors said. This is a critical issue. We've gone 4 years without BEAM payments being made, and that means that potentially tens of thousands of children have been out of school. And if a child loses 1 year of their education, never mind 4 years, it has catastrophic consequences for any child. They are literally educationally disabled as a result of that. And so thank you for raising that issue. And we must vigorously have a series of meetings and interventions to try and get the BEAM payments made. I'm going to seize this opportunity on education to raise one other issue that's not mentioned in the report, but I urge the chair to consider it. As you know, the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education has embarked on a program to rename schools, which it's entitled to do. The point that I want to raise is that in the spirit of devolution, I think it's very important that the residents of our city be given an opportunity to input regarding what names those schools should be called. And I urge councillors to take this issue up. Identify the schools in your wards that may have their names changed and consult with residents to see which, for example, nationalist icons they want to be honoured. I think of some of our heroes from the past, Edward Ndlovu, Sidney Malunga, Domiso Dabengwa, and a string of other patriots. The ladies, forgive me, I've been gender insensitive. Tenjiwe Lesabe, right? We have patriots like this, and surely there may be a groundswell of opinion from your residents in terms of if they're going to change the names of those schools. We need to have input so that our schools reflect our history and the wishes of the residents those schools serve. Thank you. Chair, would you respond?
Thank you for the responses you've given to a number of questions. I think it's almost all of our questions. I will respond to the question pertaining to HIV in our local city council clinics. We are working hand in hand with NAC, OFID, and other organizations in programs on promotion of HIV and AIDS and behavior change. So all the statistics are collected even from our clinics and schools. So it's a collaborative approach, and it's a cause of concern even to us, the issue of incidents, HIV incidents rates. We do have youth-friendly desks in our clinics, and our OI clinics are very functional. We also have provider initiative counseling for each and every client when it comes to our clinics. All those are the efforts to encounter or address HIV incidents and prevalence rates. I think the fact is that most of our residents are not able to buy things from private developers. And I agree with you that as a country we are supposed to buy equipment and have our own country services which can be sold where residents can have the flexibility in paying. I think that can address the issue of housing feelings. Also, if we can have banking infrastructure with those country citizens or social housing that can help us to address this issue of long-standing waiting investments. We do advertisements whenever they are available, but the effects are that most of our residents are not able to buy things from private developers. I think I answered all the questions, and this is any notice been answered.
Thank you. Can we move the report? Thank you. Chair of Townlands, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. As we commemorate the 132nd anniversary of the establishment of our city, I move that the report of the Townland and Planning Committee meeting held on the 19th of May as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Debate? What item, ma'am? Anyone before 22? Item 2. 22. Thank you, ma'am. You have the floor.
Umbuzo wami walezinto ngingaqala ngokubonga lokufika ukulelela indlela phakathi phakathi nedolobha. Bese sisithi namokosi ngenxa yencwadi yesonto ezinye phakathi nedolobha. Izakhamizi waya amakhanda abaqeqeshiswa ukugezana. Befika ifundiseka nokuhamba kwabantu ukuba sibizele emuva siqale siyefika sihambe kuleyo ndawo siyekubona siyezwisisa ukuze sikwazi ukuyixazulula leyo ngxabano kahle yabo.
To establish 32 lettable shops. This is the same item which my fellow councillor is talking about. The good thing about the debate is that we hold a cross-section of views, and we need to intersect them and see how best we can move forward. My understanding is that if you look at the retail sector across the CBD, you find that there is a new evolution in town that is happening. People are repurposing, the change. There is a change use of the original plans. They are reconfiguring, they are redesigning their shops into what they call lettable shops. Previously, it was just one shop. But my interest there is the benefits to council, because it was one shop with just one license. But if you are going to have 32, small-scale operators inside there, according to this report, it clearly says each one of the 32 are going to have to apply for a license, and they will be paying rent. So there are benefits that will accrue to council, in my view. This is the new phenomenon. Even if you look at developments international, people are now preferring these small shops which are flexible, which are convenient, which are accessible, for the buying public. My view is that it is the way to go, and it is going to also have a very good impact, because now we have a challenge of people who have been selling in the streets, sitting on the pavements without shops. So now here is an opportunity for them to formalize their businesses and occupy space, which will then give them a good working space, which protects them from the weather elements, be it wind, be it rain, be it sunshine. So I look at it that way, that it is a positive. It is going to absorb a lot of people who are without shops, because the urban sprawl that we are talking about, it can lead us maybe to areas which are beyond our master. But if we can maximize and do what is called the densification within the CBD, we are going to arrest one of our biggest challenges or headaches of providing good infrastructure for our traders. Thank you.
Ma'am, what item? Same item.
Mina ngiyabonga indaba yama-lettable shops. Ngiyabonga ukuthi cha ama-vendors ayafika emgwaqeni, but mina umbuzo wami uthi ama-lettable shops lawa abenefitha yini lawa athathwe nabantu from outside. So mina nginesicelo sokuthi khona ngabe kuyabuyela emuva
Ikale abantu bayabona vele ufundisa abantu abamhlophe nabanye abantu abaphambili. Ngiyabonga.
Yes, ma'am. Same item.
I remember in one of our full council meetings, there was a time when we agreed that maybe not the whole town should have little shops anyway. There was a time when we agreed that we should have a certain portion or a certain area where we can tolerate these little shops. I remember we discussed about them intensively. So I want to find out the location of this development, because at the end of the day, we cannot have the whole city having little shops. Like I said before in that full council meeting, why can't we attract proper malls? Why can't we attract like something very attractive? Because when it comes to these little shops, we've also seen the disadvantages that they come with. We once saw one by, is it Main Street, whereby it caught fire and people lost their belongings because they were just close to each other. And do we even check what's being sold in those little shops? Do we even check the risk and the management of how these little shops should be handled? I think let's just sanitize the whole thing of little shops and come up with a proper solution. Because I'm actually worried, because this report is coming from town planning, and they brought this report without considering the resolution that we made in other previous councils. So I think they should first revisit that resolution that we made before. Then they can see if this is applicable now. Because I'm not against little shops, but I think they must have a certain designation whereby they can be allowed, not all over town. Thank you also.
Same item.
Yes.
Yeah, got the floor. Well, let's speak on 22, and then we'll see if anyone else wants.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I totally agree that of course there's an evolution in terms of the economy, not only Bulawayo but globally. And I understand even the stance that is being taken by the town planning department on trying to tap into that evolution by creating electable shops. But it is also very much important to us to be reminded of history and the capacity that the city has. I think if that guides our interaction, it will help us a lot. Because we know that electable shops are only benefiting the owners of the shop and not the majority populace of the people of Zimbabwe. This is the reason why I'm saying it is very important for us to connect with the history, where we are coming from. If you remember, Bulawayo was and remains an industrial of this country, Zimbabwe. And the GDP that we were contributing before, not now, it was the biggest here in this country because of the industries that we used to run. And your worship, my worry is not all the policies that are trying to attempt to also capture the economy around the native shops, but the lackadaisical approach which is being done by this department on the responding effectively to the industries that are supposed to bring in employment and the local economy in this city. If you check your worship, there's I don't know, we are on slow motion mode when it comes to addressing a fundamental bigger projects. If you go read in the report, this department up to date, it takes more than 2 years to just craft a local plan. For example, of Ascot and Imvumela, etc., which they have a bearing in the economy of this city. But they are very quick and sharp when it comes to approving tax shops in the name of elected jobs. But now, if we are saying this department, we created it to be a technical department to plan and implement, it cannot then be a bearing of this city not progressing in terms of development. Umuntu obuye eGoli ohambe eGoli i-10 ago, if he comes to Bulawayo, he cannot get lost because there's nothing you actually things are depreciating down. And you are saying we took this department to be a planning department so that we reduce the bureaucracy in the council and ensure that there's effectiveness. But if they are now a bearing to our slow motion in terms of development, your worship and the secretary of the city, I think you must review and see whether is it still optional and strategic for us to still pursue the same route, which doesn't give us proper results. I'm not against the elected shops. I'm against the pace that this department is taking. Number one, on ensuring that we have industries in this city. They take 2 years to do local established plans. I don't know, but we go to look at lanes, your worship, in various cities in Dari, Harare, etc. We even go beyond the borders of Zimbabwe to learn how other countries operate. Here in Zimbabwe, we operating the same law, using the same bylaw. We are using the same statutes under the same government with the same currency, but we can't be found be the department be the council which is slow in terms of improving its seat. And the danger that is there is I sit down. If we are not running the means of production of this seat, your worship, if we are not ensuring that we create industries that create employment to our young people who are the majority in terms of the population, we are in a danger of ensuring that those who have the means, they will detect our social life and our political life in this seat. So we cannot then sit down and fold when a department that we strategically removed from other departments to address the problem becomes a new problem that seems to be not ending. So I suggest that your worship and the chairperson of this committee, specifically and the secretary of this committee of this council as subject, to really look on whether we still pursue the same direction of this department or otherwise there's a strategical reapproach which we need to renew within the system. We can't be complaining about this over and over again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else on 22?
23? 23, man. You have the floor. I'll bring you in just before the chair. Okay. The deputy mayor has asked to speak on 22, but I've asked him to speak just before the chair responds. Ma'am, you're on 23. You're on 23,
ukuthi egodini akungeneki indlela abahlela ngayo mhlawumbe bengaphinda bavakatshele leziyana indawo baphinde bahlele kuze bone imota ziyangena kuhle abantu bayangena kuhle bathole ukuthi isizathu wayi betholela egodini kabakwani mhlawumbe abantu abafika khona masinyane zifike okwenzakala lapho abantu abakwenzakalala ukuthi asonawo edukile ukuthi singahlala phansi idlozi ngiyabo
24. Is Councillor Moyo left? Obviously wasn't that keen to. Any other debates before I ask the Deputy Mayor to speak on 22? He wanted to speak.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I would like maybe to advise the council that I'm a member of that committee, and I would like to comment before my chairperson also comments. Relatively shops, fellow councillors and management are now the new normal. Worldwide, they are growing small-scale businesses because of the economics of the whole world, not only for Bulawayo or for Zimbabwe. Therefore, we should learn to live with them. They are here to stay. But nevertheless, also in terms of approving them, there are many questions about the location, about who are given the spaces, who are the owners, how does it operate. I think I would agree with the proposal which was seconded, that we do a site visit, all of councillors, because if we are to make a resolution, it binds all of us. It's no longer about us as a committee. So it was proposed in vernacular, since we are celebrating Culture Day, and also seconded in vernacular. They are saying they are proposing for a site visit before we pass that resolution. But let us all be aware that the shops are the new normal. We can't run away from them. They are here to stay. And also another councillor raised an issue of saying they made some presentations to the committee before the committee makes a resolution or a decision. They must look into those issues which they raised. I want to remind the councillorship that the committees do not make resolutions. Committees just do recommendations which are brought before this committee, before this council, for scrutiny and finally a resolution. So we mustn't then say what was brought by a certain committee is wrong. It is brought here for us to debate it and amend where we think we should amend. And the last issue is also about the committee as well as the department. Unfortunately, the councillor raised the issues now, they have now left. The department is doing a very great job. Last year, I think more than 4 local subject plans were brought before this council. And we approved, we commented and approved that. So the department is doing very well. Then from there, the issue of allocation and stuff, I think it was changed from that department. Theirs is to plan, do local subject plans, then present to a different committee. So it is very, very unfair to then subject that department to criticism to say that doing one local subject plan in 2 years. No, last year they brought more than 4 to 5 local subject plans. That was within a year. So that is all what I wanted to say, Worship, before my April chairperson respond as well.
Mr. Chair, I'll come to you. Let me just make a comment. Deputy Mayor, thank you for that very useful and constructive intervention, which has assisted me. Before I give my comments, I want to just get some indication whether that proposal as seconded, there didn't appear to be any objections to it. I want to give councillors an opportunity to indicate now whether they object to that. Do you want to speak? I'm not finished yet, but do you want to speak to that particular point? Well, please speak.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Chair.
Regarding this issue of lettable unit shops, if we approach this issue objectively, we'll realize that it's not a Bulawayo phenomenon. This is a global trend. As the economy evolves, we find ourselves in this position.
I understand that, Chair. I don't want to.
The particular proposal to shift this one, I will object to it because this same council was presented with a lettable unit shop policy for approval, and the same council approved that policy. And now, when something is being brought in line with the policy that we approved, and then we object, it then causes a lot of misunderstandings because we are sending mixed signals. This is in line with the same policy that we approved, Your Worship. So then it is a misnomer for us to then turn around and object to something which is, it's like designing a brick mold, Your Worship. And then when you start making bricks, you say the bricks are made. Yet you are the same designer.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond in general, but I just want to tackle this particular issue. And before I do it, I just want to express a few views myself. I do hear and I understand the arguments that are made that this is a worldwide phenomenon. And certainly the Chamber Secretary and I were in Osaka last year in Japan, and we saw for ourselves in a modern Japanese, very functional city like Osaka, how small the retail areas in many respects were. So I understand that. There's no dispute about it. My concern relates more to the type of businesses that are going to be conducted in this particular premises, and also tied to that, what arrangements are made regarding fire protection for the safety of people. And I just wonder whether it wouldn't be a useful compromise in this, so that we try and build a consensus, that we agree that instead of the committee having viewed this from a distance, because my understanding is that the committee didn't conduct a site visit itself, that we strike a compromise by asking the committee to do a site visit so that it can inspect the premises on this occasion, just so that the concerns of councillors are addressed. I think it's impractical for the whole of council to do a site visit, but it would be practical for the committee concerned to do that. Is that a reasonable compromise?
Yes.
So can we then, subject to the chair's right to respond, can we then move the report, but on this particular item of item 22, that we will not pass the resolution pending the site visit by the committee and a further report being made to council? Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Thank you. Chair, is there anything else you want to respond to?
Yes, thank you. Your Worship, regarding vegetable unit shops, what normally happens, the management of the city has a compliance committee that looks into these applications for development permits. They look at matters to do with water and sanitation, matters to do with safety in terms of fires and all those things. And these are usually granted subject to all those conditions being met. However, I think it will be fine for the committee to go and have that site visit. I also want to speak to the issue, Your Worship, of transport operators who are operating illegally at various pick-up and drop-off points that they've established for themselves. The city of Bulawayo has got a public transport policy and a service level agreement where various transport operators have been given the mandate to operate and service various routes within the city. And there are certain conditions which these operators are bound by, like picking up and dropping off at legally designated points. We also have, of course, the proliferation of illegal transporters, commonly referred to as Mushiga operators. Now, this, Your Worship, is an enforcement issue which the Chamber Secretary's Department is charged with, and we would expect that they handle that one. That is within their scope. The town planning, townland committee does not do enforcement. When there are issues of enforcement nature, we refer them to the relevant persons who are charged with that. And then I just want to comment, Your Worship, on the matter of local subject plans. Now, these are statutory plans, and they have statutory window periods and timelines within which they can be processed. So it is not possible, for instance, to process and gazette a local subject plan within a space of a week. However, I can inform the House that last week there is one local plan which became operative, And this week, there are 2 plans which have been gazetted. If there are no other issues, Your Worship, allow me to see. Thank you.
Can we move that report? Would the Chair of Future Water please move?
I move that the report of the Future Water Supplies and Water Action Committee meeting held on the 26th of May 2026 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you. Second, please. Sir?
Item 2 on terms, Your Worship.
Item 1.
Item 1, you have the floor, sir. Item 1.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report speaks to principally 2 items. And they have spoken to water statistics of storage, the depletion, the drawdown and the consumption, and the water augmentation projects. That is fair and fine. I have no problem with that. But I'm surprised that when there are so many reports across the city, day in, day out, week in, week out, about best water pipes. And if you look at our call center, there is hardly a day that passes without people complaining about City Council being very slow to react to put that to an end. So for me, this is one of the most topical issues nowadays, these days, or let me say currently. The leakages of water, the best water pipes. I thought that the committee had to say something and what they plan to do about it, to arrest it, because it speaks to non-revenue water, which we are all concerned about. We were celebrating the water inflows and the water levels, but with so much water that is being lost, I believe that this committee had to address it and give us a position on what they intend to do about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. I wanted to raise more same point, but mine was going to come from the report of the finance, because I think the what he asked is partially answered in the finance report. So on item 31 of the finance report, there is a request for authority to utilize road and water levies for the procurement of services delivered.
Do you not want to reserve?
Yeah.
No, I think it's almost the same thing, because he asked the question and this presents, I think, an answer to that. So I wanted to say it actually came as because I had the same point about non-revenue. If you have to check on our report, Your Worship, it says in I think in the month of April, our non-revenue water was sitting at 52%, which is, I think, probably the highest ever since we were elected as councillors. So, and I had also a proposal to say mine was a bit different, but this came also as an answer to the proposal which I wanted to bring to this council, to say, are we able to, like in this case, there's a request to divert money which was meant for roads and water to go and procure vehicles, because I think the biggest challenge that I've seen, it's unfortunate we don't have a report on engineering. The biggest challenge that we've been facing, if you are to talk to those people who attend to these water base, is actually the issue of vehicles. Because in most cases, when you report these water base, the challenge that they always tell you about is about water vehicles. Water vehicles to come and attend to this base. So I don't know if maybe we can maybe for now reserve it so that we can then maybe discuss this as to whether we are granting the authority to have the funds which were meant for the, like, to channel road and water levy for the procurement of vehicles, and then probably answer what he's been raising about, because I think that is the biggest challenge. Then also on the same issue of worship, I also wanted to make a proposal in case maybe this does not sail through, to say are we also allowed as maybe councillors to propose that maybe if it's possible we take a percentage of our water retention funds and maybe try to channel it towards a procurement of vehicles. I wanted to bring it in that in worship so that maybe we could arrange as wards to cluster them. Say maybe 3 or 4 wards we cluster them, then we purchase a vehicle, because we have been having a serious challenge not only on water issues but even on sewer. Where, like in my case in my ward, I went for almost 2 weeks without a car, and the car was actually broken down. So I wanted to propose that maybe we could take a percentage of our water retention as maybe, like in my case, I've got Ward 29, Ward 18, Ward 14, we're under one constituency. We take a portion of our water retention fund and try to channel it towards procurement of a car which is going to service that area with plumbers to attend to sewer and water issues. That's also another proposal which I wanted to bring to this, also that we try and fight non-revenue water and also sewer based.
Thank you. Item 2.
Item 2. Thank you, Your Worship. City, my pride. As you indicated, Your Worship, in your opening remarks, you talked about what you call a Glassblock Dam. A Glassblock Dam, or Your Worship, we did some consultations about the dam. Kumawat wonk. And we are trying to city committee or chairperson bezame ngamandla wonke ukuthi be respect impumela yaphumayo in those consultations. Abantu bathi bona i-glass block bayayifuna, and the people are waiting for a glass block. So chairperson, akumelanga, do you know what, there's one problem esilayo koBulawayo. We talk but we don't implement. I know what city Izita, Ibani, land. But Lati as councillors, let us push. We are the fathers, city fathers of Bulawayo. So let us push ukuthi into zenzakala. So chairperson ngiyacela ukuthi glass block sikhangele wena. Lathi uBulawayo abantu bonke bakhangele wena ukuthi le committee yakho ukuthi bebone ukuthi glass block injani iyaphumelela. We need that extra dam. Because amadamu lawo asenelisi ukuthi sinjani sithola amanzi enjani esiwafunayo. Yebo linile izulu, but we need an extra dam. I remember, Your Worship, in 1991, 1992, Arnold Payne. That activist, we should honor that man. Wafuki bara from Victoria Falls, was off Gwanda. Bara litwela amanza 210 liters. Efuki bara. Ehamba ngenyawo. Just ukuthi ekhalela ukuthi amanzi abe khona koBulawayo. And through that, Your Worship, wathina sokuleza Zambezi water project. Wathina sokuyakhiweni inyamendlovu akwafa. Khathesi idamu nanki government yasiyakhela idamu langapi leGwayi. Let us push nini ukuthi i-glass block ibe njani ibe khona. Ngiyacela abantu bakithi ukuthi sikulungise. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Do you want to speak?
I'm one of the opponents of glass block, and I am glad that after I dropped the mic last month on full council, the following day I heard there was a meeting to discuss the issues pertaining Glassblock Dam. We want to applaud the government for doing what they were supposed to have done. Many a time we delay these things and making the right decisions because we want to get glory out of it at the end of the day. Toba kunjalo siyabonga Minister Karu. This decision should have come long back. Chairperson we Future Water la lomsekeli wakhe le committee lakhe have been working so hard all the time as evidence on the statistics that they give us every day. These statistics are not just numbers. These are a decision-making tool. These are a planning tool. These are numbers to assist us to achieve efficiency. Future water siyabonga, Councillor Kedlov, team yakho. Your Worship, the city is growing. The city is growing, Your Worship. And as we are crying for Glassblock, it's also not enough. We need more dams in the city. As I speak right now, I represent a ward which does not receive water for 90 hours as per plan. Mahachula, Queen's Park East, because of the level of gradient and Tuli, which is not pumping enough. Thank you, because you are aware, Your Worship, and you validate my request. We are getting water for 72 hours, but we are also the citizens of this beautiful city of Bulawayo. I'm making a plea that more and more investors who want to come and build dams in collaboration with the city of Bulawayo should come to Bulawayo and assist us as the city has grown beyond its capacity in terms of water supply. But again, I want to speak to the issue, Chairperson, a non-revenue water, which speaks to both the engineering chair and yourselves, because future water is present water. We cannot talk about future water when we are not talking about present water and how we preserve it, because there is a positive correlation in the manner in which these things work together. Let's try our level best to push for expedited actions in terms of how we react to clean water best. You put together the amount of water we pump and that which we lose in the pipes. We may get water almost 6 out of 7 days in a week, which is almost what we require. So, in my closing words, I am grateful for the decision that has obtained in terms of Glassblock, and I'm calling for those stakeholders who are interested to come and partner us and build more dams. And as future water continue to look for other means of getting water from other sources and bringing them to this Augusta, so that we can together make interventions on seeing whether these things are, the sources are possible, and together we achieve a transformative city which has water, because we cannot transform when we have no water. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Same acting, Your Worship. I would also like to speak about Glassblock. I think we are going backward instead of going forward. I think when it comes to Glassblock, it was not about whether Glassblock is being approved or not. When I last checked the conversation that we had, I think it was more about the legalities binding Bulawayo City Council and the strategic partner. So I think by now, as councillors, we should be told about the way forward of the resolved issues between the legalities of City Council and the strategic partners. Then we move from there. And no one is refusing Glassblock. The only thing that was putting Glassblock at standstill was the legalities or the issues of the contract between the cities, from where I last had the conversation. But if it has moved, I can see policy heading is nodding his head. Maybe he's way above where I am. But where I was, I think it was because of the contract, and I don't remember receiving any feedback of how the issues were resolved. So if we can have the resolved issues, then we can then now talk of Glassblock being implemented or not.
Before I go to the chair, I just want to make 3 points. The first is in relation. Oh, sorry, sir, you wanted to. Thank you, sir. I will respond. I want to make 3 points. The first is in relation to the very valid point made regarding non-revenue water and the suggestion that we look to alternative sources for the purchase of vehicles. Councillor, are you listening to what I'm saying? Because I'm addressing you.
Yes.
No, not you, sir.
This one.
Yes. I thank you for your contribution. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I want to draw in, it might not seem relevant, but you'll all laugh. You know that I pushed for this fountain in front of the City Hall. It doesn't fill a single pothole, doesn't create a single job, but the importance about it for me is symbolic because it shows where we want to go. And I apply the same principle to your suggestion. I like that suggestion where you're saying, let's use ward retention funds, because I think if we do that, and Town Clerk, I urge you and the Director for Finance, let's be innovative. If this department cannot respond because it hasn't got vehicles, we need to look as a matter of urgency at every quarter to see where we can even buy 1 or 2 vehicles, and then we need to publicize it so that we can say to the public, we understand that you've got a problem, but this is what we're doing about it. We've shifted our resources to ensure that we get vehicles, and we're trying to address it. And in that way, it becomes symbolic and we get residents behind us. So thank you for your contribution. And I urge management to take very seriously what has been suggested, and for us as councillors to see regarding our own ward retention funds, whether we can't combine for particular areas, as you mentioned, in a constituency, and get vehicles. And even to have vehicles earmarked for that particular constituency, so that residents know that this is the vehicle that's going to respond to their water issues. That's the first point. The second point I want to make is in relation to Glassblock, and in particular in relation, ma'am, to your comments. Let me tell you, I've been confused myself by the process, so I'm not surprised that you are confused. Right. Because we've been given a whole range of different reasons why this has got bogged down. At one point, it was because we couldn't reach agreement regarding the water offtake purchase agreement. We were then told, no, ZINWA must be involved, or ZINWA mustn't be involved. And that is why, in desperation, I wrote to the Minister. And I repeat my thanks to the Minister. I hope he hears this. And I asked him to clear away the nonsense and get clarity. And that is what happened in that meeting. They were proactive in that meeting with the African Development Bank. And the position now is that we have a draft water offtake purchase agreement, a draft agreement. We have reached a compromise position between the City Council and the consortium. Because if you recall the sticking point, they wanted us to pay for all water supplied. And in our debates here, you will recall, we said we don't want that. Because we didn't want to burden the public with water we didn't need. What has happened is that we've now reached a compromise that we won't pay for all water supplied, but we will pay up to a particular limit, which will enable them to get sufficient resources as the consortium to meet their financial obligations to the international banks. So that was the significant agreement reached. It has also been made very clear that ZINWA are not going to be involved, that this is going to be a bilateral contract between the consortium and the City Council. And that has been clarified. So all that we are now waiting for is for government to approve the draft agreement which has been sent to government. When that comes back, then we will have a broad consensus and understanding. But then, as I said in my opening remarks, the issue that we then have to face, not so much us, but the consortium, is to secure the international finance. We are told that the African Development Bank, as indicated by their presence, I'm not sure if you have been briefed. The Deputy Mayor was present. I had asked the chairs of Future Water and Engineering also attend so that they could. But the African Development Bank sent a significant team. It wasn't just one person. They sent a large team down comprising all their different departments, which in itself indicates the level of interest that they have in this project. Let me make one final remark regarding Glassblock. Even if we get the approvals today, Glassblock is going to be constructed and will start retaining water after I have left office. Right?
In 2030.
Yes. So, but the point I'm simply making, for those who are seeking to make political capital out of this, you need to understand what is in my heart and my mind regarding Glassblock. It's not about me, it's about the future of our children and our grandchildren. And that must unite us. Our children and our grandchildren have no political color.
Yes.
And furthermore, to reinforce this, don't look at our own statistics. I encourage councillors and all of those who are arguing against Glassblock, go and see what the UNDP says about urban population growth rates in Africa. At the end of 2024, I attended a meeting with 14 other mayors in Nairobi at a meeting with President Ruto. And as mayors, we had a briefing from the UNDP regarding this issue. And all the scientists, not the politicians, all the scientists are agreed that the projections are that by 2050, African cities are going to double in size in terms of their population. So if that statistic is applied to our city, we are going to need Glassblock, we are going to need further sources of groundwater, and my goodness, we are going to need Gwashangani. But I will be long dead by 2050, right? But my children and my grandchildren and all your grandchildren will look back then and they will judge us. They will say, did your grandfather, your grandmother push for this? And if we did and it becomes a reality, then we will be praised. But if we argue amongst ourselves and it doesn't become a reality, we will be criticized. So we need to all, irrespective of where we come from, our background. And it's not about Gwashangani or Glassblock. And there's one other factor regarding this. If you see at the level of xenophobia in South Africa taking place now, and we look at the population growth rates of our city over Christmas, where it increases from about 700,000 to over 1 million, you can see the numbers of people potentially who may wish to come back to our city. I hope it doesn't happen. No one wants xenophobia to get out of control in South Africa. But the point I'm making, and we all know, we all have family members in South Africa whose heart doesn't lie there, their heart is here. If we create conditions here, they will want to come back here and raise their families here, and they will need water. So this debate must stop. We need to go forward together with government. We're not in competition. And I reiterate, I'm so grateful to Minister Gawe for seeing that and being so proactive. One final point I want to make in relation to this is something completely different, but it relates to dam levels. Madam Chair, if you look at the dam levels of the two NEMA dams, you will see how low they are. We all know this past week that government identified 15 dams countrywide, 15 rivers countrywide, where they are going to target the rehabilitation of rivers. We all saw that. Nema was not on that list. Why? And I charge you, ma'am, through your committee and the town clerk, we need to lobby government to make sure that that dam, and what is the river that supplies in Yankuni? That river as well needs to be on that list of rivers which need rehabilitation. It's not just the Mazoe River. They have mentioned the Mzungwani and the Nsiza. Those two rivers are on that list. But we need Nema on that list, and I regret I don't know the river that supplies the Yankuni. But that river needs to be, and we need to lobby for that. Madam Chair, would you like to respond?
Ngiyabonga Worship. Namhlanje ngizakhuluma kakhulu ngesindebele njengoba liviki lakuqala lokuhalalisela uBulawayo ukuba leminyaka 132. Kodwa ke ngisithi mina siyabonga ukubongwa Councillor Mahlangu, ngiphakamela ukubongela ikomiti lami ukuthi bayabonga ukubongwa. Councillor Neta, ikomiti lami liza kubamba ngezandla zombili ukuthi lilethe amanzi koBulawayo, idolobho likaBulawayo bayathembisa ukuthi lizaba ngcono ngaleli komiti elikhona kade sele future water. Sibonga kakhulu okukhulunywa nguwenkosi ukuthi sizancedisana lo baba uDube laphana. Ngiyabona ukuthi indoda eqeqeshileyo elenkani nxa sifuna into eyifunayo. Sincedisane sikhulume nohulumende ngaleyo mifula, mhlawumbe imfula yethu layo ingene kulist. Sizasebenza gadalala, siyamthembisa uBulawayo. Kodwa bese ngisithi Nkosi, ngilokudana loba mangikhuluma nje izihlathi zixotshana lendlebe, kodwa ke ngizama ukuthi ngilethe enye picture ehlukane lento enzayikhuluma. Engikutshoyo uCouncillor uNdlovu laphana ngo-item 1 ukhulume nge-non-revenue water. Ngathi ulilunga le-engineering committee Nkosi, engazange ihlale lokhu akukhuluma ku-future water bekumele ayekukhuluma kukomiti leli elingahlalanga. Ngithini mina Nkosi khonapho? Ngithi ngifisa ukuthi abantu ireport engithe ngiletha phambi komkhandlu abantu babale ireport yami, badibhethe ireport yami, bangazibhaleli owabo umhloliso, ngoba konke okukhulunywayo akukho kule ireport Nkosi. Mhlawumbe kuzabuya kunyanga ezayo. Sizakuletha sizwile izikhalazo zamakhansela. Sizakuletha kunyanga ezayo. Iglassblock siyayifuna, kodwa singabala lawe Nkosi ungayinxa uyibalile. Ayila naleli bala. I-water retention fund kayikho lapha. Liyangizwisisa? I-non-revenue water kayikho lapha. Kodwa ke siyathembisa ukuthi sizabhala ireport efunwa yinkundla. Mhlawumbe sizayiletha kunyanga ezayo. Siyananzelela ukuthi into leyi iNkosi ayiqali. Sike sathi sihambile silikomiti njalo sisiyabona amadamu. Sabuya saxoxa phela kubakhula bethu. Yaphinda yadiscusswa, yadibhethwa ingekho. Ithe isizobuya ibingasadibhetheki. Yikho ngithi mina sokuyimsakavukela umchilo wezidwaba. Asibaleni izinto ezilethwa nguchairperson sizizwisise sigxile kizo. Ngiyabonga.
Can we move that report?
Move.
I move that the report of the General Purposes Committee meeting held on the 26th of May as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted. Is there any seconder for that? Thank you. Is there any debate? What item, sir? 24. Anyone before 24? You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'm on item 24 on local economic development. I think it's 1.3.
Sorry. Item 24 is the invitation to the midterm review workshop for the second biennial transport. Is that what you want to say?
No. Let me. So it's
29. Is there anyone before 29? Anyone want to debate anything before 29? You've got the floor.
Yeah, so it's on local economic development.
29 is
What
minutes are you following?
It's item 29 on under e-government.
No.
Under government, there's 1 point.
We're not with you. This is general purposes, Councillor.
For gender sensitive,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
If you go down,
Yeah.
FGH. H, then other H is other I.
Aye.
Yes. Then is item what is governance.
Governance,
I'll get up.
Yes. Okay. We with you? What is your point, Councillor?
No, I want to speak on local economic development.
One point three, eh? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there we
go. 1.3, yes. You have got the floor, please. Thank you.
So yeah, Mayor, I would like to take my 2 minutes to explain this thing because I feel like it's very important to detect the direction that this council must take. I was so touched by your remarks which you made, mentioning that whatever decisions that we are making is a bearing to the future generations to come. It must also be a reminder to every politician that is here that we are not only doing decisions to suit our current position, but to ensure that the next generation it benefits. I want to speak on the local economic development as the greatest and the most fundamental key question that your executive committee must respond to. Looking towards the current situation that we are facing, not only as a country but as a province. If you are aware, your worship, we have more than 4 million Zimbabweans who are living in diaspora, particularly in South Africa. They didn't leave Zimbabwe because Zimbabwe is okay. They left Zimbabwe because they're looking for economic opportunities, specifically in South Africa. I was in South Africa recently. I was so touched by the treatment that they are receiving from their fellow brothers and sisters who are Africans. But because of the scramble of economic opportunities that is happening in Africa, I want to zero it down to Bulawayo because majority of the people who are in South Africa, they're coming from here in this province. We know that most of kids, most of the young people who graduate from, it might be tertiary level or even in Form 6, they resort to go look for opportunities in the land of Azani. And yeah, in South Africa. Yeah, so Your Worship, when we were reading statistics in the finance committee, I was so worried because I saw that most of the people who are benefiting from the tenders of the city council, they are not coming from this province. And this conversation, they seem to be unfavorable because people end up thinking that we are tribal in nature, but we are speaking in the manner and in the spirit of decentralization and devolution. For me to benefit where I am staying, it doesn't mean I am a tribal. I'm trying to ensure that there's equity and equality. So if we're debating upon the people that are benefiting in the procurement system in this country, majority of them are not coming from this program. Meaning to say, those who are running the means of production and who are running the business and the economy of the city, majority of them they are not from here. So what does it speak to us, Your Worship? It means to say that we are going to continue in the predicament where we lose young people in this ills called drug and substance abuse and etc. as a symptom of what we are creating as the local authority. So it is my petition, plea and prayer, Mayor, that you need to look into this not only just as a subject in your report, but as a lived reality that we are facing here in Bulawayo. I'm glad you spoke about the future generation. We are all aware that maybe in the next coming years, you might not be even the mayor of the city. But we are not even sure that the mayor of the city in the next 10 years will come from the people of Bulawayo, because you who runs the economy, obviously he takes the politics and the social environment of that particular area. So we are not sure that if you are not running the economy, if our young brothers and sisters are subjected to slavery and poverty in the city, whereas others from other side, they are benefiting from the cake of the city, we are creating a serious generational case that me and my brothers, we are going to face. So I wanted to speak on this subject that I pray that you look into it deeply to ensure that you come up with a deliberate policy, Your Worship. I know that it is a subject also to do with the finance department, but ensure that the people of Bulawayo, especially the young people, must benefit, especially to the tender system and the procurement system of this province. We know that we are subjected to the national policies, but also those national policies, they speak and support the spirit of decentralization and devolution. Meaning to say, as the local authority, we have autonomy also to decide to actually speak on these specific tenders being subjected to the local people of Bulawayo. In that regard, we are going to ensure that we have local economy, employment, and also ensure that our people live with dignity and harmony, so that they don't go to South Africa to be abused. They come back home and live in the beautiful city that you fought for and the forefathers of the city. So I rose on that spirit to ensure that we task your committee to relook and speak on the local economic development, so that it can manifest to the lived realities of our people. Thanks so much.
What item, sir?
I wanted to raise the same point, but it's, I think let me just raise it here, but I've seen it somewhere in the finance report on because I think it's the first item on procurement, but I think I'm going to raise it since he's already raised it to GP. Your Worship, as I was going through the procurement report, it says out of I think about 14, let me just open it so that I give the proper information. Out of about amatenders anikwe procurement 14 this is I think in April 14 best 14 Bulawayo based companies benefited, and Harare 8 Harare based companies also benefited the tenders that we got as Bulawayo.
I'm using
We are not yet in finance.
No, I want to use the statistics to support what
I'm
I'm
giving
saying.
you some latitude, councillor, but please stick to the point.
No, I'm supporting his point. It's only that I'm using the
Don't
figures
dwell
from.
too long on finance.
No,
We're coming forward.
it's fine. It's okay. My point, Your Worship, is that what is being raised by Councillor Moore is something which is a serious challenge that we are facing as Bulawayo. He said that some people might take it tribal when people are raising facts, but these are facts which are on the table. And this is the living reality that we are facing as Bulawayo. Bulawayo companies are dying, Bulawayo economy is dying. Why? Because we are also not being deliberate as a local authority to make sure that we create policies that also favor Bulawayo people. Do you know, Your Worship, let's not even talk about the contracts. A long time ago, you used to, was it more often where Victoria Falls? I'm just going to the transport business. There were a lot of companies that you'd find which were coming from Bulawayo going to Victoria Falls. But right now, I can tell you, Your Worship, that you can hardly find a bus which comes from Bulawayo. We now have buses coming from as far as Harare. We passed via Bulawayo going to Victoria Falls and all the way back. It might look like maybe there's no problem, but economically, Your Worship, there's a problem. Because we are now having companies which are taking funds from all over the country, diverting them to one central point. There's nothing tribal about it, but it's a fact. And Tina, as a local authority, we have to find a way that we can create policies that are going to favor the local people. When I say local people, I'm not talking about a certain tribe, but people who reside in this city. Yes. We had Bravo is not in the way, but it is company which was based in Bulawayo. It was benefiting us, and even when it thought of diverting from his line of business from transport into maybe construction, he also did this construction here in Bulawayo, which is also benefiting us. So we wanted the same thing to happen across all sectors, so that the industry and the people of Bulawayo benefit from what is happening in this city. It's not a good thing, Your Worship, that we have all the economic opportunities favoring one city in this country, where like money being collected in toll gates just to go to the first central point before being displayed to other areas. We want to decentralize this policy so that the people who reside in this city also benefit. That is how also the economy grows of Bulawayo. That is also the same people will be able to buy stands. Councillor Mahlanga was talking about the issue of stands, and the chairperson said people are not able to buy stands from us here. It also speaks to the economy. People are not able to afford. Why? Because they don't have money. And the people who are able to buy those stands are coming from other cities. Why? Because the money is going there. So how are we going to have our own people buying stands when the economy is favoring other cities? So, Your Worship, we have to sit down as the city, create opportunities for our local economy, and make sure that whatever happens in Bulawayo, also there should be a threshold, if it's possible, to say whenever there is a tender, 75% should come to people and companies which are registered locally. We know the addresses, we know the people, and that should also make sure that it addresses everything. Because, like I was saying, Your Worship, these people, when they come from Harare with their buses, going to Bulawayo, they come with their drivers, they come with their conductors, they come with all weight, from all the way from where they're coming from to Harare and all the way back to Harare. How are we going to have people being employed when you are having companies who are coming with their workforce and everything to come and just get money from this city and take it all the way back to their cities? Which is also why even the price of stands, our own people are not able to buy. But if you have to check from these developers, most of the people who are buying these stands are coming from where they're coming from, but just because these developers have a funny man, these people will just sell to them, they get money. These people come, they construct whatever they want to build. At the end, Windows decided to register, they sell, and after selling, they also take the same money back to where they are coming from. So we have to be deliberate about it and make sure that the point which was raised by Councillor Moyo, we sit down about it, create a policy, and make sure that our local people are given opportunities which are equal from to other chances which local cities are also getting here. Thank you.
What item, sir? Same item. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Your Worship. I've got a problem with one activity which happened in Bulawayo, in Harare, it never spread to the regions of Matabele. We believe that Bulawayo is the capital city of Matabele. There was an investment forum which was held in Harare sometime, which was conducted by the city of Bulawayo to say Kumbulekai. These people are the people who neglected their seat and developed another seat. There was no investment forum which was held in Victoria Falls or in Bait Bridge or in Banda or in Madambus or in Plumtree or in Slovenia or in Chocholo to come and invest in the seat. But these people who are now based in Harare, they will come here, right, and develop, not only themselves, they will be having partners in Harare. Whatever they create here, the money they create here is then shared where? That side. In the future, may we be seen, if we are here to support our local economy or to grow the economy of this city. Right? We have got people with huge sums of money in Gwanda here. Look at how Gwanda is developing. There is huge gold there. We have got our own chivayos here in Matabele. But why are we not taking those chivayos in Matabele to develop our city? We're going to look for the chivayos in Harare, which is not proper. In the future, we want to see this city hold the investment forum. This one. Even calling those who went to Harare to say, Kubleka, they should come and attend those forums if they are really serious. Here, right, as Scotland, discussing to as Yakani, region, Matabele, Yabo.
Is there any further debate before I respond?
Respond and move.
Okay, I want to respond, and I thank you for this. The councillors have spoken well, but you have touched on an extremely sensitive topic, which is not a current topic. It has been something which has afflicted our city for over 50 years. It is a phenomenon which has not only afflicted the city during the period post-independence, but even afflicted the city in the 1970s under the Rhodesian Front. The reality is that this city was a bigger city, had a bigger GDP than Harare in the 1950s. That's a fact. And it has seen steady decline since the late 1950s. If we consider the history of the last 46 years since independence, we can see numerous companies that have shifted their headquarters from this city to Harare. Going back, Metal Box, way back, shifted. I think that was the company. And then there are numerous companies that shifted their headquarters. And recently, Edgar's, which had its headquarters near the High Court, has shifted its headquarters to Harare. I want to draw in what the Chair of Finance said right at the beginning of this meeting. He referred to the ZEDA report. And it makes for a very sober reading. And I have read the report, and I have engaged Busisa Moyo regarding that report. But it makes for, at the surface, it makes for horrifying reading. How can it be that Harare has attracted $700 million worth of investment and our city has attracted $3 million? That is what is in the ZEDA report. I've asked for a meeting with Mr. Moyo so that I want to understand where the 700 million has come from, the breakdown, because if you read the report, it's just a summary. It's not clear where it's, and I haven't had a chance to tell the town clerk, but I've asked that Mr. Moyo, who's chair of ZEDA, have a meeting with us so that we understand the content of that report. But it's very sobering. Your point, sir, about Gwanda is correct. Gwanda is growing at a rapid rate, and the monies being generated by the gold sector are clearly coming back into that economy. The problem that we face is that we don't have the same proportion of gold mines to our population as Gwanda has. And even if you look at the gold mines, you will have all heard about what I've said about the gold mines south of the city in the Umzungwani catchment. What horrifies me when I see those gold mines is that you see poverty all around the gold mines. There's not a single clinic, a single school, a single road that we've seen upgraded with all that wealth coming out of that mine. So it's not just something afflicting our city. There is a vast amount of wealth being extracted in our environments, which is not coming back into our city. I've recently had discussions with Caledonia, Blanket Mine, the public company, because you will have seen that they have this massive new investment coming at Bilbao in Iñaki, $500 million investment coming to Bilbao. They will have their headquarters in this city. And I've been discussing with their directors, if Bulawayo is going to be the headquarters, how can this city get more investment and more benefit from the vast amount of wealth that's going to be generated by that mine? It's out of the city, but we must have some benefit. But it is a deep and perplexing issue. And much of it is tied to the fact that government pays lip service to the principle of devolution. We pay our car licenses here, they go to Harare, and we don't control how that money is spent by Zanara. We used to own our dams, the dams were taken over, we have to pay Zinwe for water taken from dams that residents of this city paid for. It is and that's why I say you've touched on a very sensitive issue. But we believe in Zimbabwe. We are Unitarian in our outlook. None of us are separatists. I certainly am not. But there has to be equity. There has to be equity in the nation. And it's not just what we are doing. Yes, we need to take Kumbalekaya and make it more effective. Yes, on housing, we need to draw on our local resources. But there also needs to be national equity. And we need to understand why it is that Harare is getting $700 million worth of investment and we only $3 million. And I know I'm biased because I love my city, but I would argue this is a more efficient city. You can drink the water out of our taps. We deliver water to 94% of households. The point I'm simply making, it should be a more attractive business investment destination than Harare, and yet we see that massive disparity. Why is that? So we're not going to resolve it today, councillors, the councillors who've raised this. But we need to speak of one voice. And it's a bit like water. This doesn't have any political or partisan color. It shouldn't, because we're all residents of the city. We all have interests, irrespective of our backgrounds here. But we need to speak with one voice on this, not in a separatist tone, but in a national Unitarian tone to say, if this city grows, it won't just benefit this city, it will benefit the nation. But this debate cannot be resolved today, but thank you for raising it. There were no other issues raised in relation to the report, so I move it. Do we have a seconder? Can we move it? Thank you. Chair of Finance, please move your report.
Okay, thank you. I move that the report of the Finance and Development Committee meeting held on 26th of May 2026 is submitted and received, and that recommendations contained therein adopted.
Thank you. Thank you. Any debate? Lots of debate. What item then? 17? Item 1. Okay, you've got the floor, sir.
I wanted to speak on the issue of it's on the procurement report, Your Worship. I've been talking to some of our engineers on the quality of the products that we are also getting out of these procurement processes, Your Worship. And I wanted to, I don't know how it can be done, Your Worship, but some of the products that we are getting, for example, I was talking to the engineers, we are getting some town lights which they are getting out of our tender process on allow procurement. Amanye toilets are on, they just wait for 3 months, 2 months, we are not so teaching. And I don't know if there's any, if they are, if one is an engineer, they are given a chance to maybe propose the quality and the brains, because we cannot be buying things and then after 2-3 months, so many staying again when these contractors would have been paid. So I don't know how it can be done, but there has to be a way equality to the quality check so that you get proper products from this procurement process. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, what was, I think, ma'am?
Item 17.
17. Anyone before 17? Thank you, ma'am. You've got the floor.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi ngethuba. Okokuqala ngithanda ukuhalelisa uBulawayo ngokuthi ngeminyaka engu-132 siphakamisa amasiko ethu, ubuntu bethu, ulimi lwethu, imvelaphi yethu. Ngithi halala Bulawayo halala. Ngizakhuluma ngo-item 17 okhuluma ngezikweleti zikaBulawayo. Lapho esikhangele khona izakhamuzi okumele zibe yizo ezibuya zizobhadala koBulawayo. Okokuqala ngithanda ukuthi Chairman, ngithanda ukubonga ikomiti yakho. Kathesi lisebenza kuhle lezakhamizi, liyazibhalela, liyazithinta ecingweni, okwenza izakhamizi zizizwe layo ziyingxenye kaBulawayo, lizichasisele ngamazwi apholileyo. Ngithe ngikutsho lokho ukuthi hayi silitshayela ihlombe. Kodwa ngemva kwemizamo yenu leyi elithe layenza, ngizacela usodolopho ukuthi ngicela likhangele indaba eke yaphakanyiswa phakathi lapha eyama-title deeds. Isichithizile imizamo ye-finance ukuthi abantu babhadale. uBulawayo selokwesaba ukuthi kanti ama-title deeds la abhalelwa ama-advert amaningi achiyeneyo. Singakweyisa phandle inkulumo ziningi, abadala abafuna impendulo. Ngikhuluma namhlanje emagrupini ka-Ward 17 more than angu-12 bebekhuluma ngendaba yakhona ukuthi bafuna impendulo. Ngabathembisa ukuthi hayi ngiyabona umeya usodolopho, ngiyabuya le mpendulo ukuthi indaba le ivela ngaphi, ngoba asilalwazi lami nje ukuthi baphendule ngathi ngizabuza abaphezu kwami. Ngisitsho umeya, sicela ubhalele le i-government yethu kumbe yiliphi ihhovisi elethula lo mbiko ucela impendulo, ngoba abantu bakoBulawayo balokwesaba. Siphile isikhathi esinzima ekukhuleni kwethu ngezinto ezithiyene ezenzakala komthwakazi. Nxa sokubuya indaba yama-title deeds kufakwa izimali ezesabekayo, bacabanga ukuthi selifuna ukubathathela izindlu. Nxa libhala incwadi eliphepha lenu elincane lokuthi liyabakhumbuza ukuthi babhadale, bacabanga ukuthi lisebenza labama-title deeds. Abasoze babhadale sebesesaba, bafisa ukuzwa impendulo. Imizamo ebiyenzakele ngo-finance chair le committee yakhe isiphelela emayeni. Asikhangeleni indaba leyi isincedise ngoba uBulawayo edinga imali. Abadala bayakuzwisisa kahle ukuthi basuke ekhaya bebuye edorobheni ukuthi babuye bahlale bathole amanzi endlini, baye toilet endlini. kodwa kumele babhadale loba nje umkhono omunzima benganelisi. Ngicela libancedise bazwisise ngendaba yama-title deeds. Njalo abakhula bami bakhulume kabanzi ngendaba yama-stands ukuthi awatholakali. Abadala bayesaba ukuthi bangaphucwa izindlu zabo lezi esezibizelwa ama-title deeds. Sizasala singubulawayo uphi singelalutho njengoba lisitsho ukuthi kuthola abantu baseHarare bethola izinto lapha thina akulamuntu otholayo. Umbono wami omncane. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you. 20.
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to speak to the ICT section. The ICT section is expected to be an innovative hub, Your Worship, which enables and activates solutions which improve service delivery efforts on the supply side and on the side of ratepayers. There are a lot of aspects, but I'm going to just focus on data analytics and collection. The collection of data in real time is very critical for a city because it can reposition us from being a reactive city to being a proactive or predictive city. Data-driven decision-making is actually far better than any other kind of decision-making. So that is the same reasoning, Your Worship, which drove myself, Councillor Masangu, Councillor Moyopi, to have a series of interactions with the ICT section because we felt that it was very important to have a dashboard which is a service delivery dashboard which is updated in real time, Your Worship, because that then gives us all the information that we need to identify the hotspots in terms of service delivery so that we actually see our red flags and our green flags. Now, Your Worship, I am disappointed because after those interactions, which we took very seriously, by the way, the section is still not deployed the dashboard. The excuses are known by them alone. The reasons are known by them alone. But Your Worship, if we are moving towards being a smart and transformative city, if we want to be a wise city, Your Worship, it means anyone who does the opposite is an enemy of progress, Your Worship. It therefore follows that finance must look into that matter and establish the reasons why that dashboard has not been implemented many months down the line, Your Worship. If we have enemies of progress, then we need them to be reassigned, Your Worship, because we cannot have a situation where we are planning innovations and we are trying to move forward, and then at the same time we have individuals who fall asleep at such critical moments. This is a very serious issue, Your Worship, because there are a lot of takeaways that we can derive from that dashboard once it's deployed. And it actually stands to be a game changer because every policymaker in this room will have a very clear picture of where we are going in terms of service delivery and other things. So, Your Worship, I want to encourage the Chair of Finance to crack the whip on the ICT section because something is not right, Your Worship. Thank you.
What item, sir? 21?
31.
31. Anyone before 31? You have the floor.
Thank you, Worship. Lapho ngithanda ukuhalalisela uBulawayo. Sithi halala Bulawayo, halala. Your Worship, ngithanda njalo ukuthi ngithi ngiyabonga acting director of works engineer David for a move ukuzamela kusithengela ama vehicles to improve our service delivery, Your Worship. But my concern, Your Worship, if you check this tape, Your Worship, it takes ama calculations ngikhaya your worship. Ngananzelela ukuthi u-engineer ufuna ukuthenga ama-Land Cruiser i2 valued at 132,000. Lama double cab i4 valued at 180,300. Altogether, the amount that he wants to spend on these 6 vehicles, your worship, is 312,332. Of which, your worship, at this juncture, when our city is struggling financially, your worship, I don't think these vehicles, these all-terrain vehicles, are necessary for now, your worship. If you can Google, your worship, you will note that the cost of an NP200 vehicle is about 15,000, a brand new, your worship. Now, if you divide 312,000 by 15,000, your worship, you get 20 vehicles, your worship. I think, according to my own point of view, your worship, we would rather do away with these Land Cruisers and double cabs, your worship, and buy 20 Nissan NPV 200, your worship. We have 29 watts, your worship. At 20, it will go a long way, your worship, into improving our service delivery, your worship. That's my submission, your worship. Thank you.
Is there same item? So what time? No, so let me take from Madam Councillor here and I'll come to you.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Ngizakhuluma ngo-item 31. Ngibe mahluko kancane lo makhelwane wami lapho. Esikhathini esiningi sijayela ukuthi sikhuluma sithi simele abadala, sithunywe nabadala. I will always say that ukuthi lapha sibuye sisiba lilihlo lezakhamizi labahlali, sisiba li-bridge between abahlali lakhona lapha esikhona. Ngithi mina uthango kalungadli amakhumane, Nkosi. Ngikhulumela imali leyi kakhulu emgwaqo, i-road levy. Lizanakana ukuthi emva le sabhoda phakathi komuzi sacela izakhamizi ukuthi sicela ukuthi kube lale imali. Sachasisa izizathu zokuthi why imali lesifisa ibe khona. Ngoba imigwaqo yethu ifile. Ngizangivumela. Ungivumele futhi ngikukhumbuza ukuthi wena uke waqhuma amaribhoni yemtshina yemigwaqo lonyaka khonapha koBulawayo. Waze wafaka la enkundleni zokuxhumana wabonisa isizwe ukuthi sesilayo imtshina thizeni yokusebenza phakathi kwedolobha. Okusuka kungizwisa ubuhlungu ukuthi i-roads levy ibhadalwa ngumhlali wonke wakoBulawayo obhadala othela imithelo. Kodwa imigwaqo ibonakala kuphithizela phakathi kwedolobha. Mhlawumbe yibo ababhadala imithelo ethe caca, yibo abalungiselwa leyo mgwaqo. Bese ngithi mina kungaba njani ngemtshina yakho leyana owasibonisa yona, bazangifakazela labahlali nxa bebukele bayibona kumabona kude lenkundleni zokuxhumana ukuthi leyo mtshina kayihambe iyobisebenza emalokithi. Beke bebe le test of their money, izakhamizi beke bethi nxa sibakhuthaza ukubhadala ama-rates bazwisisa ukuthi why kumele bawabhadale. Ngoba khathesi ngileqiniso lokuthi babone ngani izinto ze-city center. Bona bemalokitshini siyabe sibancenga ukuthi bhadalana ama-rates, but akulalutho esibenzela khona in terms of imigwaqo. Imigwaqo ifile and ayikhethi mhlobo womuntu, wonke umuntu uhamba kuma-potholes. Awukhethi political party, wonke umuntu uhamba kuma-potholes. Ngicabanga ukuthi mhlawumbe ngenyanga edlulileyo engasoleyi eka March nxa ngingaphambanisi wonalo umkhandlu Nkosi. Lami ngangikhona, lami ngavuma. Savuma ukuthi inkampani okuthiwa yi-TTI izasilungisela imigwaqo. Kanti waye singabayekeli balungise city center. Thina sithathe imtshina leyi singene emalokitshini. Ukwenzela ukuthi ngikhulumela izakhamizi Nkosi, angizikhulumeli mina. Ukuthi imigwaqo mibi, inqola zabo zomlilo ziyalimala mihla namalanga. Umnotho welizwe awumanga kahle. Sihambe sibacabangele ukuthi ngikhuluma ngiyala le mali ye-roads levy. Ngiyala layo. Ngithi kayingathengi lezi mota. Imota zikhona. Kasisebenzise zenezi ezikhona. And i-23 investment kayifeze esakuvumela nayo. Angithi sathi basebenze phakathi kodolobha savumelana lami ngavuma. Asithathele yethu imtshina siphumelayo siye emalokitshini. Ngiyabonga.
131. Councillor, you wanted to second. Did you want to say anything more than that? You just wanted to second,
Okay.
Councillor Seketi.
My co-councillor raised a proposal ukuthi kungathengwa zona lezi zimoto a proposal izimota izenza ukuthi umsebenzi uhambe. Meaning to say ukuthi out of imali yona leyo, if we are to agree as a house ukuthi we are agreeing ukuthi siyababoleka ukuthi siyabanika ukuthi bathenge zona lezi zimoto. Ingathengi zona lezi zimoto abafuna ukuzithenga, and rather go for cheaper vehicles ezenza ukuthi umsebenzi uhambe. I'm still asking myself ukuthi double cab iyabenyani your worship.
So can I just respond to this?
Chair, my concern in this, I think it's a valid concern, and I'm always trying to see how we can get best value for money. But the danger of us voting on something like this in an uninformed basis is that because of the nature of this meeting, we haven't heard the justification from management. Because of that, I'm not dismissing what you're saying, councillors, but I think it would be better to have this in committee so that we can refer it to, so we won't pass it now, but we refer it in committee so that we can have that debate that I think is necessary. Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other debate?
Move the report.
Chair, do you want to respond?
Okay, thank you very much. Item 7 on debt collection. Thank you, Councillor Esmoyo, for applauding the committee in doing a good job. We endeavor to even perform better with your support. As Kukuzeleni Zakami, which is Patali, my councillors, service delivery, very funny mali. The deputy mayor of City, Umuntu Etolope, very funny malo. Ofungihlala mahara I think ukuthi awuthambi ehlale ekhaya. So where we are here vele amanzi engaba ngamahara engakaNkulunkulu, but i-council yabe ifuna ukwa purify ama-chemicals afuna imali, ama-pothole esikhala ngayo afuna imali. So mina vele khonapho ekucollecteni imali I always frank with residents ukuthi asibhadaleni so that we have adequate service delivery. Siyabonga councillor more for the compliment. Then on the issue of title deeds, it's a topical issue, I think, for every councillor, even in my ward on the course. But I have tried on personal level to engage the relevant departments, and I have tried to explain together with my colleague, Councillor Chinyati there. We have been trying so hard to explain in our groups. I think in short, abantu digitalization, it doesn't affect umuntu vele ongela title deeds. So if you are digitalizing something, fanana logikanti yawe ale program to start ama-plastic licenses. Kodwa abala licenses ababela ama-licenses ezenge. It mean ukuthi wena nxa vele ungaza kuthatha i-license so sithi thwa lami plastic kanti government issue asisihlokolo. So we should be frank. I always tell residents frank points, and I got support from residents because they know ukuthi ngiyabatshela iqiniso. And I don't like speculating. I first gather information from relevant departments. You've got colleagues in government. We always inquire and explain explicitly to the residents. So they just do it, original title deed, ID, the $215 or less, depending. Let's still rest with the title deed, so I exclude it. I repeat, copy of original title deed, copy of original ID, the $215 or less. Then you go to your conveyancer, sale.
Absolutely. If I could just interject for a moment.
I understand all those prerequisites, if I've understood you correctly.
Thank you.
But as I said in my earlier comments, the system isn't working now, and so we can't convey to residents that this is all you need, because it's not going to happen at this time.
So I think those are tethering challenges.
Yeah.
We can't then base on the tethering challenges. We are supposed to explain, like I'm explaining here, to the residents, the correct procedure. That those without the title deeds are not affected by the system. By digital, they are not affected. They are not supposed to digitalize anything if you don't have title deeds. In short, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then moving on to the ICT department, thank Councillor Ara Nda for a passionate that you have on ICT department, that it should be capacitated and well functioning. We acknowledge that certainly in the 21st century we should have a functional ICT full-fledged department, and the government have been on record sent a memo that all ICT departments on the local authorities should have a director. I think we also passed such a resolution. The director of HR working on that together with the town clerk. And again, I retaliate that all those mechanisms they will need us to be frank on residents to come up with, to make sure that they pay their accounts, so that one, we are able to pay the incoming director. Secondly, we are going to finish a department of ICT that is fully fledged. So if we don't have any funding, it means that we might have ICT department which is not functional. So let's again remind our residents to make sure that they pay for them to get adequate service delivery. On that note, I thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Can we move the report?
I think that concludes our agenda, but are there any notices of leave? Yes, ma'am?
Councillor Ekes,
4th June to 18th of June.
Thank you, ma'am. Any others? No. So our meeting is adjourned.